here. See if I can get back here. Wow. She's back here. It's like this was a little room, like the jail cells. She's got a little bed here. She has a little nighty cap on, and so this is way back in like, wow, 19, I don't know, 10? It's unusual. It's a little girl. This place is more stuck back in time. I just had two kids go by, a boy and a girl, laughing, running downstairs to do whatever, but residual.
I'm about community, learning, discussion, respect, integrity, truth, science, and discovery. Welcome to my Paranormal Soapbox. Hello, welcome to my Paranormal Soapbox. I am your favorite and friendly neighborhood ghost hunter, Justin Brown. Welcome to episode 11. Where we're going to talk about some very, very interesting, and I can't wait to hear the comments on this. I hope to get as much engagement as possible. Please share this video, get your friends to join in, and we'll see if we can have fun this episode and learn something and see where it takes us. But before we do that, we're going to unmute Derek and bring him over and say hi to him. What's up, Derek?
What's going on?
Not a whole lot, man. Hopefully we can get some cool comments and engagement this time around and see if this topic interests somebody. I already had someone message me and said that this topic interests them, so hopefully it's a good one. Now, if you guys have any comments or especially questions you would like to ask me or Derek, it doesn't matter, anybody, I'm going to periodically stop talking, go to Derek, and I'm going to have him read off the questions for me. And also, you can, when I get back to you, you can shout out to everybody that's, put down a comment or ask the question so we can get everybody's shout outs done too. But thanks for helping me tonight, Derek, and I'll get back to you here in a few minutes.
Awesome, no problem.
All right. Okay, guys. What we are going to talk about tonight is ghost photography, spirit photography, whatever you want to call it. It's a very popular thing in the paranormal research field. From the very beginning, the inception of cameras, people are trying to capture anomalous things on the camera. There's people that believe that they can take photographs of spiritual phenomena, paranormal phenomena. It could range anywhere from UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, you name it, people are trying to point their cameras at, all those things, and try to capture it. And it's been a hugely, insanely popular thing to do, like I said, since the inception of the camera. So we are going to talk about the drive and the history behind the motivation of those things, the advancements that cameras have made to this day, and then we're going to talk about what I think about spirit photography and the problems and issues I have with it, and some things that we can solve some problems with. I'm going to introduce some techniques that'll help you deal with anomalies and things found on your photographs that you maybe can help discover or find out more about. So we're going to get into that. But in the beginning, cameras were very huge, clunky. It required a lot of training to use and understanding, and the exposure time was long. You had to sit there and stand there in front of it for forever and can't move. If anything moved, it would just be a blurry mess. So it's advanced quite a bit since then. Now you can have cameras the size of, they can fit the palm of your hand, and they, are very easy to use and very accessible now. And since we've switched over from film to digital, it's made it even easier. And there's some pros and cons to that. Since it's been switched over to digital, it's easier to fake photos now. Okay, you could fake photos using film before, but it was much harder. It took some skill and know-how. Now all you need is an app to throw in something in there. So that's the first issue I have with trying to use still photography to research the paranormal. You have to be able to analyze the metadata and review it and know what to look for if you're analyzing a photo like that's submitted to you. Now, if you took the photo, you know if you faked it or not. But even if you didn't fake anything, looking through the metadata can show you some things and tell you some things about the photo that you may not have been aware of when you took it. It may tell you some things about the anomaly that you have that you don't understand in the photo. But now, if you are looking at photos and you don't understand how to take a look at the metadata, you might as well just send the photographer or the photo to a photographer that actually knows how to do that. Okay, if you have a question about a photo, send it off to a professional photographer or a really skilled hobbyist, because they can tell you whether it's legit or fake. Okay, so I will say that from the beginning. Now, getting past the fakery that's easily done in the field today, there is a lot of things that still can cause anomalies that a lot of people don't know about, just because they're not educated on the subject of photography. Okay, one of the very first things I started doing when I started doing paranormal research was I really started to get super educated on photography, because that's one of the main tools we use to try to gather evidence of the paranormal. We use cameras. So I went out there and I got a very in-depth education on all the mechanics of photography, the process, all the little things that you need to understand to become a good photographer and to identify anomalies caused by the optics and caused by the process of taking the photo with the camera. So we're going to talk about those. Okay, we're going to give examples. I'll probably just go to Google and give examples and let you guys see the examples. Okay, but probably the most predominant thing you see is shadowy anomalies. You'll see blurred images. You'll see mist and fog-like, images in your photographs, and you'll see orbs. Okay, and we'll talk about each one of these. Okay, and I don't want to get too involved into it, but if you are just now watching the show and you're interested in just a quick education, we will talk about it. Now, if I go into Google and I bring up an orb anomaly chart, it should bring us to a list of things. Okay, here's a common one that people see all the time. Okay, all right, here, guys, we're going to take a look at this. Okay, dust orbs. if you see an orb in your photograph and you're using a flash, it can cause anomalies like this. Okay, if you can see all these examples in this diagram here is an example of dust or some type of I guess it could be organic. You can get pollen and dust, little, small microbial size bits of matter floating around in the air all the time. It's everywhere. You can, unless it's like a laboratory controlled environment, you're going to have some amount of airborne particles just floating around. Okay, so when you subject the front of your lens with a bright flash, you're going to see these orbs pop up. Now, some of them may be very small and pinpoint and sharp, and that means they're in focus. Okay, the bigger, blurrier ones means that they're out of focus. And the reason why they're out of focus is, we'll talk about that too. We'll go to the focal point of a lens. Okay, and we'll learn about that. Okay. Now, if you look at this diagram here, this little focal point is going to be the point where your camera is designed to focus on at that point in time. And there's a minimal distance between the glass of your lens and right in front of your camera that can focus. If it gets too close, it'll be out of focus. If it gets too far away from the focal point, it'll be out of focus. Okay, so these airborne particles are usually right in front of the lens or the camera before it, closer than the focal point. So it's going to be blurry, and you're going to see some weird things that resemble these orbs. Okay, so using a flash to do any type of paranormal investigation with is not good. Okay, you're going to get anomalies like that, and if you don't have the light source pretty distant from your actual lens, more anomalies like this will occur. Okay, because you're really subjecting the airborne particles in front of the lens to a bright light, so they're going to show up. Excuse me, I'll turn down my. So there you have the dust. Now you can also have moisture. Okay, and we'll go to this chart. Moisture, you're going to get a lot more color because you're dealing with refraction of light at that point, because it's almost like a prism. Light's going to go through it. It's moisture is really transparent, so it's actually going to give you color, and depending on the wavelength that it gives you, all color is different wavelength of photons of energy from light. So you can get a whole spectrum, of rainbow and colors. So I know most of you that have looked at photos, you'll get a blue orb or a red orb or a yellow orb, and that's because the whatever particles in the air is transparent, and it's doing that to the light itself. Let's see if we can find some insect anomalies. We'll Google that. We'll go insect anomaly with flash photography. Okay, here's an example of tracers that you see. Okay, right here, if you look, there's just a little bug with wings. Okay, and the flash is shining off it. It's going to look kind of like a little fairy or an angel, and exposure time is a huge thing too. So if the bug flies faster past your lens than your camera that can expose the image, then it's going to leave a trail. Okay, if you run your finger in front of your eyes, you're going to see a trail of blurriness go by it, and that's because of exposure time. So all these little trails that you see in photographs are all caused by shutter speed and the exposure time of your camera. It's not some kind of weird paranormal anomaly. Unless you're using a high frame rate or a super high speed camera, all of this is not paranormal. Okay, and let's see if we can find, there we go, here's a good one. All these anomalies you see here on the left are insects. So I get shown a whole lot of photos that have these types of anomalies in them, and they're just bugs. Okay, if you're outside taking photos, especially when it's warm out with flash, you're going to get anomalies like that. So that's a quick education. Okay, and well, one more thing. I'm going to show you one more thing. We'll Google slow exposure ghost effect. Okay. And we'll go to this one here. Okay. This is kind of a cool example. You can use a slow exposure time to give like a ghost effect. You can make someone look kind of blurry or see-through. Okay, so that's how that's done. You can kind of do it this way too. You can set your camera to a very slow exposure time, get in the frame, and then move. Okay, so you're going to look like you're there, but you're not there because it's exposing the light bouncing off you, and then it's going to be exposing the light with you not there at the same time. So you're going to get ghost-like images. So most of your cameras that people are using have auto exposure times on. So in low light situations, it will automatically bump up the exposure time. You shut down when you click the shutter, it's going to expose all the light for a longer period of time, and you're going to get this effect in these anomalies. So that's another thing I wanted to bring up. So what can we do to not have these problems? Well, first thing you can do is stop taking flash photography, period, when you're trying to do spirit photography. When you're trying to use a camera to investigate the paranormal, just don't use a flash, okay? Use regular ambient light. If it's too dark, use infrared or full spectrum or whatever. Try to light your scene, or just, use regular ambient light. Don't use a super, bright flash, okay? And make sure the light source is away from your lens so you're not illuminating all these particles right in front of your lens. As long as you do that, you'll do better. Now, of course, the more expensive your camera is going to be, the better photos it's going to take, the more control you'll have over exposure time and everything else, and the better optics will be in your lens. So if you're using a cheaper camera and that's all you can afford, just be careful with the flash. Okay. Before we go into some techniques and other stuff, I will bring over Derek, see if we got any questions or comments addressed already. Derek, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. No comments yet, huh?
We've had some comments. They're kind of kicking back and forth some of the ideas of what they use personally, their cameras and equipment. RJ Murphy did say he only uses cameras primarily to document the location of equipment and the actions of the team during investigations. With the digital age, there are too many instances of pareidolia occurring.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about pareidolia.
Yeah, then they kind of got on your orb pictures, pointing out what they were, because everybody describes orbs as ghosts, and they're really not ghosts.
Well, spirit energy
other
is
than
what
that, it's been kind of.
They believe it's some type of spirit energy. I've heard some people say plasma, because it resembles ball lightning, which is plasma.
Right. Obviously, I think ball lightning has a lot different characteristics than what you're seeing in the picture when you take it with orbs.
Yeah, it's blue, and yeah, that's one thing.
To bring up an interesting subject, I saw a video, I think it was yesterday or the day before, on Facebook, that a guy put up on one of the Is It Paranormal websites, talking, and he showed a CCTV video, and he said, "Somebody just tell me what this is. My house is haunted." And there were three light anomalies that were in a straight line in his CCTV camera, and they were doing this back and forth, back and forth. There was no street light coming at him. There was no car lights coming at him. There wasn't a road where car lights would come down. But it was interesting because the next day, a guy at work come up to me and said, "I think my place is haunted, dude. You got to check this out. This is from my CCTV cameras." And he pulled up his CCTV camera video, and he said, "Watch this video." And I'm watching it, and it's the exact same thing on a different plane. Instead of being straight up and down, it was more kind of like this, horizontally. And it was three dots that were bright glowing lights, and they were kind of waving back and forth like this. So I told him, I said, "Man, I'll tell you right now what you need to do. I said, when you get home tonight, this afternoon, find that camera that recorded that. Walk up to it, put your hand up in the air, and wave it back and forth and see if you knock a spider web down. Because I bet you 10 to 1 it's a spider web with 2 on it. And it's reflecting off of it. And he was like, I never thought of that. I'm going to have to try that. And he didn't come in and tell me anything today, but it wasn't a big issue today. So apparently that's what it was a spider web.
Yeah, spider webs get people all the time, and even hair. You'll see long strands of hair kind of floating and short fibers, like long gated fibers floating in the air, coming off of, couches, clothing, what have you.
Right.
So it could be a range of different things that's light enough to float around in the air. So you got to consider a lot of things.
Yeah. Especially locations where there are animals and pets. Anybody that has pets or a location that has a high volume of animal traffic, whether it's known to the owner or not that there's a lot of animals coming in and out, that's a big factor.
That's right. Well, keep the comments coming, guys. If you have any questions for me, by all means, type the question out, and I'll have Derek read off the questions to me as we proceed with the show. Thanks, Derek.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. So, what do I recommend? Well, the first thing I recommend is not to use a still camera, like RJ suggested, to document paranormal phenomena. Okay, use a video camera. Why do you do that? Well, a still camera takes one picture when you close the shutter button down, or multiple ones depending on your speed, camera rate. If you have a nice camera, you can take 5 to 10 to even 20 if you got a really, really nice camera. So if you hold the button down for a second, you can take multiple photos. But it's still not as good as video, because all video is taking still frames super, super fast. Okay, the lowest frame rate that you may see is 15 frames per second. That's super slow. The standard is 24 frames per second. And you can get up to 30 to 60 to 120 to even more if you have a high-speed camera. So what I suggest you do is just shoot video, okay? Just shoot video to document, and if there's some type of haunting or reports of the paranormal going on, just shoot video only. But now, if you're using a still camera, like RJ mentioned, to document, take photos of your team members doing their thing, taking photos of the super cool location that you paid a lot of money for, or the location you love, definitely do that. But there's a technique. Sometimes when you're doing that, an anomaly may show up in your photo again. Okay, so what do? We stick a GoPro or an SJ cam on top of your camera. Hit record. Okay, now while you're taking photos, you're recording video of what the field of view that you're taking photos of. So if you get something in your photograph, you cross-check it with your video, okay? And if it shows up in your video, you will get more information and more data about what it is, how it behaves, and that will tell you a lot more about what you're seeing, because still photography is just a snapshot of the very instance you're, photographing and what you're seeing. So the optics of the lens, like we mentioned before, can cause all kinds of anomalies that you need to be educated on and be aware of. Okay, but sometimes you're not going to be able to identify every single thing. Now, we will get, let's look at moisture, for example. Moisture, anomaly, oops, in flash photography. And we're going to take a look and see what that looks like. Okay. Okay, this is a good example. Sorry, wrong screen. Okay. So, how many photos do you see with mist and fog in them? Okay. You could still photograph this your breath, even when you don't normally see it, the flash will make your breath visible when it usually isn't. Okay, maybe it's not quite visible when you're just sitting there breathing, taking the photograph, because a lot of people forget they can't see it while they're taking a photograph, but when they subject it to a very bright light, it's going to reveal it. So you will ask them, hey, could it be your breath? And they'll say, no, 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 it wasn't my breath. But weather conditions, like that makes your breath condense, can cause these anomalies. I mean, we're going to look through here. I mean, people will go through in here and be like, oh, look, I see eyes and a face in there. Okay. I've brought up pareidolia many times on the show. Okay. Your brain's designed to find eyes and noses and faces in things. Okay. So you have to identify that aspect of your psychology and how your brain works and know that that's not paranormal. Okay. It's just not. I mean, here's other examples. Now the same thing goes with fire. You're going to see faces in fire and smoke. Okay. So examples like this, not paranormal. Okay, guys, it's just not. We have to universally agree and educate everybody so we can all get up to speed, because there's thousands, maybe even tens of thousands, I hope not 100,000 of people that still believe that dust and condensed water moisture and slow shutter speed, those are all things that we trick ourselves into believing that are paranormal. We have to have general knowledge of photography. Okay, so when you're taking photos, please get one of these cameras and attach it with an adapter on top of your camera. If you have a camera that you can't do this with, I understand, but I would recommend a DSLR, or at least a camera that you can has a hot shoe and a cold shoe mount for your GoPro or action camera. Make it small so you can stick it on there and it doesn't impede you taking photos. And that's the best technique I have come up with to provide a cross-checking method with your photographs. Okay, you've heard people say take photos in series of 2s and 3s or more. Well, just take video. Okay, guys, just do video and you'll have 24 or more frames to analyze. You're going to analyze audio along with it too. So don't do yourself an injustice by taking one photograph and saying, okay, well, I can't figure out what that is. I wonder if it's paranormal. Okay, there's a lot of paranormal researchers out there, including myself, that has done this on investigations, kicking themselves in the butt, wishing that they had gathered more data and been a little bit more efficient so they know or have a little bit more data to determine whether or not if something is validated as paranormal or not. But a photograph itself really doesn't validate anything as paranormal. Now, it's a part of a physical evidence that you want to gather during an investigation, but you want to be able to back it up. If you're taking a photograph and it shows up in your photo, but you don't see it with your eyes, you have to ask yourself why. Why can't I see it with my eyes, but on the photo? You have to understand how the light exposes and is picked up on the sensor or the film, whichever you're using, of your camera. Okay. Now there's filters in the lens of cameras that'll filter out the spectrum of light that our eyes can't see, because if it doesn't, it's going to look really weird. Now you notice in full spectrum cameras, it's got this really dark and deep magenta, almost pink hue, and that is because infrared and UV light makes it look like that. If you could see an infrared, it's going to look just like that. It's going to look very odd and very monochromatic. So if you're picking up infrared light, and that's the reason you think that your eyes aren't picking it up, then you have to understand what color infrared light looks like on a camera. So if it looks white on your camera and you don't see it with your eyes, it's not infrared light. It's not UV light. Okay, because those have distinct color to it. Now, if it looks pink or it looks, a weird different color, then you can start asking yourself, well, is the filter on my camera bad? Because some cheap cameras will leak, certain infrared light through their filters. Because if you ever notice you took a cheap cheap camera and you took a picture of a bright light, like a incandescent light in your house, you may see that pinkish, little glow of the shape of the light you're taking a photograph at. Well, that's just a bad filter. So that's all it is. And we have to learn, and educate, and all agree that all these things that we're talking about on the show needs to happen in the parafield to let it grow, to let it, build strength through education, through knowledge and wisdom, to get down the road. We need to get further down the road. We're wasting our time analyzing this stuff here. I mean, this stuff here, you're wasting our time, okay? This stuff, you're wasting our time with these orbs, okay? Stop wasting paranormal researchers' time with these orbs, please. I hate to be blunt, but the information is here for you guys. The education is here for you guys. In the manual of your camera, it explains the anomalies that show up because of optics, because of the flash photography, focal points, so on and so forth. So that's me on top of my soapbox talking about this. Let's see what you guys think. We'll go over here to the comments and the questions. Derek, anything new coming through yet?
Yeah, actually, Sam Thomas brought up, so it's best not to use a flash.
Right.
Which I kind of agree with that. I've used flashes in the past, and it makes especially in the dark. If you're in the dark doing an investigation, you use a flash, it destroys whatever you're trying to take a picture of.
Yeah, cheap. I mean, on-camera flashes are usually bad. Now, the Nikons and Canons and the Sonys, they do a better job. If you're $500,
Right.
$600 into a camera, it's going to start getting better, but it's still not great. Now,
Correct.
your external flashes that cost $200-$300 and up, those get better. You can put little, diffusers on them. You can make it not as harsh. So, just don't use a flash.
Right. Bobby Ashbury really liked your idea with the GoPro on top of the camera. Therefore, I take it he's not seen that before. Sam went kind of crazy on commenting. She had a lot of stuff to say. She said, I did a screenshot of a whole video I did. In each screenshot, it looked like she had something. What would cause that? So I asked her if she actually took the video and went frame by frame to look at it. And that's kind of what she meant. Apparently, she took a whole video and looked at it, each frame individually, and each frame had something in it. She wanted to know what might have caused that.
I'd have to see the photo. So, Sam, send me the photo of what you want me to look at, and that's the only way I can really help.
And then Bobby Ashbury said, when I used to do the camera thing, I set it for 3-shot bursts, but the GoPro on top of the camera is a whole lot better than the 3-shot burst.
Yeah. You're taking, you can set your GoPro to go 60 frames per second. So every second you point your camera at it, you're going to have 60 frames. So
right. Jessica Woodward Combs asked, when taking multiple photos in pitch black with a flash, what makes some pictures appear darker and then suddenly lighten up?
Okay, there's a problem with the sync when the flash fires. If you have, even with Nikon, high-grade cameras, sometimes the sync, the timing, your camera tells the flash to fire, and the time the shutter opens and exposes the light to your sensor could be a little bit off. Okay, so you'll see a flash, you'll see a flash, you'll see a flash, and then the sync won't be exactly perfect on the 4th, 5th, or the 100th photo you take, and you'll just get black, nothing but a black photo. Okay, and sometimes, for example, here, let me take this off, turn this on, pop the flash up on this, the auto open. It won't let me flash on. If I can. Anyway, my flash is right here, okay, and it pops up. If I have it sideways and I have a strap, or if I have hair, or I have something hanging off my hand, something can get in front of the flash and cause an obstruction. Okay, so it's going to create a shadow like anomaly on your photo, and that can cause a lot of anomalies too. So when you're using a flash, make sure there's nothing in front of it or that can get in front of it. But the black photo is caused by sync problem. To answer your question. Any other questions? I'm loving this.
Um, let's see. I'm kind of scrolling through real quick.
That's okay.
To make sure that I don't miss anything. But Bobby Ashbury got to talking about him being a chain smoker, so he debunks any myths already. So we had a side conversation on that because I explained to him that when I'm outside and I'm smoking, or if we're at an outside location and I'm smoking off away from the group, I always mark it on my video and audio that, hey, anything you see is probably going to be cigarette smoke, nothing paranormal. That way it's there, so that everybody kind of knows what's going on. Let's see. Sam said, I think this was a joke, not 100% sure, but she said, I heard taking a part out of camcorders will help with picking up spirits. I think she's meaning taking the IR filters out, which is easily done. Bobby did tell her. Bobby said, I switched to all SJ4000s and removed the filters.
Yep, that's what I would guess.
Right, which the SJ4000s that I'm using and that I know you've got a couple of, compared to the SJ6 Legends that we've purchased and put out there and recorded video on, for the price point, anybody that's watching that isn't moved over to the SJ Legend is making a mistake, because the video quality for the price point, I mean, it's hands down compared to the 4000s.
4000 still good. I mean, their auto exposure for those cameras and the dynamic range of those little cameras are great. Okay,
Right.
But the SJ6 is better. So if you don't mind spending, what are they, 120, 130, Derek?
Yeah, regular price, I think they run like $139.99. A lot of times you can get them on sale, especially during the holidays. The holidays the best time to pick them up. You can get them for $120, which, I mean, that's a pretty good price. And you convert them yourself, or if they want, get a hold of somebody to convert them. I mean, gosh, you guys are going to charge them like $90 to pop that filter off if they can't figure it out, which is kind of ridiculous. But I mean, it's a good deal.
All right. Well, not to get too far off topic, I know Matthew Jackson has joined us recently, and the technique I was talking about before you joined us was, instead of taking a series of photographs while you're filming, you might as well just shoot video the whole time. But in case, in the event that you are using still camera, stick an action cam on top of your camera, and as you're shooting, you'll have this to cross-check any anomaly that shows up in your camera. Just cross-check it with this, and this will let you know more information about what's actually being photographed. So that's the technique I was wanting to talk about during the show when I was speaking to Matt earlier, and he was mentioning that he got a really interesting photo, and he gave me permission to show it.
Awesome.
So let's go to this link he gave me. I think I passed it up here. Messenger. Let's see here. But he told me he basically, here it is. He basically was doing an investigation, and he snapped a photo. Let's see if it'll let me make this bigger. It's not going to make me blow it up, so I'll just make it bigger here. So if you look, he was on the landing of these stairs shooting down, and you can definitely tell he's lightened. He's brought up the brightness in the photo, and that explains the grain. But the skeletal hand is pointing to this image right here. And what it looks like is the profile of this ghostly looking thing with wild hair. It's got big dark eyes and a long pointy nose and a mouth right there. and it's kind of got like a misty figure to it. And at first glance, it looks like pareidolia, but there's no way
Mm-hmm.
to really know if it is or isn't because there's nothing to check it with. So
Right.
a lot of people, when they're analyzing photographs, the correct way, the best way to do it is to have the metadata, to have a camera stuck on top of a GoPro stuck on top of your camera to actually look and see what's going on at the time the photo was taken. You know,
Mm-hmm.
see if it moves, see if it's just something stationary. Have other, photos taking of this area in really bright areas to see if it's something that causes pareidolia to occur, because sometimes they'll take a photo and it's just like some part of the environment or some part of of the wallpaper or some
Mm-hmm.
stuff that's just stored in the area that'll make you trick your mind into think it's something else.
Right.
But
Yeah, 'cause
it's interesting though. I mean, look at this though. Isn't that a really interesting image there?
it is. I mean, when you really look at it, if you look at the bottom of the door, I don't know because we not being there, we can't really tell what was there, but it's almost like the door is shut. It looks like the bottom part of the door is shut, the top part of the door is open because you can kind of see wood, what looks like wood slats running through there, which is kind of weird. But that would be, yeah, if he had a separate angle shooting on that, or like you pointed out, the video camera on top of the camera, that would be awesome to be able to have that on two forms of capture equipment that's going to show a video profile that you can go back and do still frame and actually check it, and a still picture to be able to say this is legit. Because I've actually taken pictures that I've taken in doorways. I took one from Waverly back in I want to say 2015, and I actually took it, put it in Photoshop, and I took a lot of the darkness out of it, tried to lighten it up as much as I could. And once I got it to a certain point, you could see a figure in the doorway, but you couldn't validate that that figure was actually there because I photoshopped the shit out of it to make it look like there was a figure in the doorway.
Right. Now I'm going to bring up the Moonville ghost pic that I somebody that was with me in 2014 took, and it's gonna have similar characteristics to Matt's.
Mm-hmm.
And there, let me bring it over here. Go back to the graphic screen. Okay, the picture, the original photo on the left, is taken with a really cheap cell phone camera with a really crappy flash. And if you look at the top right, you can see a little bit of glare from where the flash was, and you can see a little bit of the light shining down on the gravel. We're in a big, huge, wide open rail tunnel where a train went through some foothills in Vinton County, Ohio. And it's a big, wide open tunnel. Okay? So I lightened it up, and on the right, you see this weird, ghostly like figure just standing there in the middle of the gravel in the middle of the tunnel. Now you can see the flash is a lot more predominant up here, and you can see some glare. Just, I don't know if they had a finger kind of in front of the flash or around the flash, but you kind of see this humanoid like figure standing there. And I could not understand what caused that. But it doesn't mean that it's a ghost. What interested me was that it matched the description of what people's been seeing since 1889 in that location. So it's interesting, but you just don't know. And it, as much as it drives you crazy, you just have to chalk it up as interesting. It's not really good physical evidence that you're trying to look for. And I'm with Matt and a lot of other people that have similar you know conundrums when it comes to photographing things that could or could not be paranormal. It's just tough out there. Go ahead and Matt is saying something about it's further down on the post.
Yeah,
What was he talking about?
I think he's talking about the picture. A better look at the picture.
Okay, here, we'll do that.
The original. He said if you scroll down on the post, you can see
Okay.
the original
Okay,
photo.
the original. Here's the location that he was at. Looks pretty typical. So we're scrolling. Got a willow tree. And that reminds me, he asked me a question about Willis Weep, about a name. I need to get back to him on. I've been so busy. Okay, here's the original. Yes, that still looks interesting. You can still see it fairly well.
The location's sharp as shit.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of crossed between Thornhaven Manor and Willows Weep to me.
Right.
Yeah, that looks like it's on the wall. Like this part here is the wall. And here's
Correct.
the doorway's here, and
Right.
this is on the wall. So it would look like it came out of the doorway
Yeah.
by a foot or so.
Right. I mean, it's actually it's almost like it's coming around the corner, like it's kind of like it's doing this, like it's leaning up against the wall, kind of looking at him, like it's waiting on him to come down them stairs.
Yeah. So, yeah, it would have been really interesting to see video of that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody that's in this that has experienced this particular scenario, please have video rolling all the time, and don't ever turn it off. Derek can testify to my methodology when it comes to not turning off the camera.
Right.
I know I have footage of just about everybody doing things that they probably wouldn't want me to see, but that's fine. They'll get over it. So yeah,
Exactly.
there you go. That's Matt Jackson's experience with the photograph that he cannot prove or disprove.
That's a creepy looking entity. What if it's actually an entity that is standing there? I mean, that's got some creepy characteristics to it, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's got like wild hair. It's got a long, witchy, pointy nose. It's got these big, darkened eyes. And that's a cool thing about pareidolia is sometimes it looks just straight up like something very crazy. Like you've seen clouds in the sky that look like God himself sculpt the clouds into a warrior riding a horse into a sunset. That's exactly what it looks like. And you're like, your mind is blown because my favorite one is the face. We have to let the viewers see that one. There's this face.
Matthew did say that the location has been torn down now.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And that's that it sucks. You know, places like that get tore down all the time, every day, and it's
this
awful.
One's my favorite one. Everybody's seen this one. This one's gone viral. This one right here. I mean, look at that. How is that natural?
Let me see. I gotta wait for it to pop up on my side.
I guarantee you've seen this before on social media. But it's just this really low storm front moving in with these storm clouds.
Yeah, that was wicked. I mean, it reminds me of the Scorpion King. I think is the movie.
Yes.
When he comes rolling in the sandstorm, it's like hell yeah.
I'm looking at this one. This one looks like it's fake. Like that one's photoshopped. It says create a face.
Right.
Oh, there's some funny. Look at this. Look at that. That's a fucking dog. That's got to be photoshopped, right?
I would think.
Here's an interesting one. This one looks straight up like an Indian.
Right.
That looks pretty cool. It may be photoshopped too. See, that's the thing, guys. Just like I was talking before.
That's crazy.
Here's an obvious Photoshop.
Wow.
Here's a cool one. Here's Pooh Bear.
It's like the other day they put the video up, and it went viral, of the hole in the clouds that showed what they thought was Jesus walking through the hole in the clouds.
Mm-hmm. I can find that.
To me, when you look at that, that's got to be CGI or some type of video editing that somebody created that.
Let's see here. This is one that kind of looks like Jesus. Yeah. I was thinking that there was a better one. This might be the one you're talking about. 'Cause that definitely looks like a figure kind of just walking off into the clouds.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it can get pareidolia is a tricky pareidolia is a tricky son of a gun.
Yeah. Well, Jason Bland put a video up 2 days ago from northern Indiana. Actually, it's probably quite a few miles. I'm thinking northeast or northwest of Hartford City, in a cornfield, and it looked like what people are describing as an alien ship, kind of hovering over this cornfield. And then he circled a spot in it, and somebody had commented, said, "Looks like an AT-AT from Star Wars in the background." And I'm like, well, that right there ought to tell you the video's fake. I mean, granted, I'm not going to say that there's not that kind of stuff out there going on that people don't have legit video for. But, you know, when you put it online, it gets scrutinized really bad.
Bill said he saw Elvis in his potato. You see potatoes shaped all weird.
Hell yeah. If it looks like Elvis, it's worth $1 million.
Okay, this is an adult show, so since he brought up the potato, guess what photo I'm going to bring up?
Uh-oh.
It's here. See if I can find it. All right, if you're under the appropriate adult age, close your eyes right now, okay? But this is the funniest form of pareidolia when it comes to potatoes. It's the dictator.
Oh yeah, I've seen this one.
I mean, come on. I always made fun of my wife and my kids. They're always buying chicken tenders, and sometimes you just get a chicken tender that's the shape of dick and balls. I mean, it's funny. But we like to have fun on the show a little bit. But bottom line, guys, I know we're winding down to the end. I don't want to, I want to sum this up by saying that using a still camera can be good, but you're going to have the burden of having to validate it by cross-checking it with other things. If it's not other images or other imagery like video, have it backed up by eyewitness account, multiple eyewitness accounts, other scientifically acquired data to back something up that's anomalous, like some type of magnetic field spike, temperature spike, a surge of ions in the vicinity that's being looked at. I mean, me and Derek are working on something very nerdy and scientific as we speak. It's going to take a long time and a lot of money, but we think that we might be able to do some really cool research with cloud chambers. So if you're interested, we'll tell you about how to help support that. But
yes.
Is there any more questions or comments we need to address before we bring it to a close?
No. They're having fun with the potato, and other than that, no, nothing major.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, they're just kind of side chatting now. Oh, wait a minute. Sam Thomas said you're going to have to do a whole nother show on just this topic.
What do you mean? Pareidolia?
I don't know if she means pareidolia or if she means the actual photography aspect of it.
All right. Well, I'm a very busy man, and you can't learn photography in 1 hour video. So
it takes a while.
If you're serious about learning about photography, I would recommend Tony and Chelsea Northrup's YouTube channel. You can look that up. Jared Polin has a good educational channel. I can send you links to free education. They also have books to learn even more in depth. They put out all kinds of free education. I can help you, but you really, really need to get the resources that are out there to help you learn. Get a nice camera, start taking photos, and learn the craft. Because until you do that, you're just going to be in the dark when it comes to photography. So if you're going to be serious about your paranormal research, be very, very keen on your photography. I mean, you can ask anybody in my group. I know photography, and you have to a certain extent when it comes to knowing if something could be potentially anomalous in the photos. Plus, if you're, trying to present some type of video or photo production of what you're doing, you want it to look good. You want, the people to see the places you experience. I mean, I love seeing photographs of, where people's been. I watch the paranormal TV shows just to see what the place looks like. They may tell me a part of the history that's really interesting.
Right.
So, learn about photography, folks. Derek, you've been a big help. It's always nice to talk to you and go back and forth on the stuff that we spend so much time doing. But we love
Exactly.
it. We love
exactly.
it. You are released from your duty tonight. Tell Missy she's grounded.
Awesome. Will do.
All right, man. I will talk to you. You can hang out on the video call if you want, but I'm going to go back to
Cool.
the main screen and put it into the show. So I will talk to you in a moment. Thanks, guys, for watching. Thanks, guys, for having interest in the show. I love talking to you guys. I love trying to educate and learn from everybody in the field. Like I say in every show, I'm not an expert. I'm not an authority in the paranormal, but I do take what I do very seriously and try very hard to be a good paranormal researcher and investigator. So with that being said, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us. We're kickstarting another series of Necromancer live show on Wednesdays on our YouTube channel. We have James Goy Jr., which has a book stating that he can help you use the powers of your mind to attract money. So that is an aspect of the paranormal I'm interested in hearing about. He's got bestseller books on the subject. So we get to talk to James Goy Jr. tomorrow night on Necromancer at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Go over there to YouTube at Interface Death's channel, subscribe to the channel, and watch that show. It should be pretty interesting. But if you would like to support our paranormal work, all the content I and my paranormal team puts out, you can do so through Patreon. The Patreon supporters we currently have are up on the screen right now. Without Matt, Benton, Matthew Jackson, Clay Borman, Archie Murphy, this content just would not exist. We would not be able to have the motivation, the incentive, and a little bit of money to help support all the things we do. We live stream at least 2 or 3 times a week. We live stream our investigations. We put out video presentations of our investigations and productions, documentaries, episodes, everything. And we also try to fund our own scientific research into the paranormal, which is insanely expensive. So get rewards on Patreon by just donating $1 a month. If everybody that followed me and knew about me donated $1 a month, we would be doing some super insanely cool paranormal research. So check out patreon.com, support Interface Death. The link is in the video description. So there you have it, guys. I'm going to leave it there. You could stick around and watch some video promotions if you like, if you have not watched them already. You guys are in my heart. I love you very much. We'll see you next Tuesday. I'll have another topic to discuss. And check out Necromancer tomorrow night on the Interface Death YouTube channel. And I will see you the next one. Sometimes there is a bit of truth in the legends we are told. We seek to uncover the mysteries that fuel the haunting. We call out to those who remain hidden in shadow.
spirit would like to communicate. We're trying to figure out if there's someone here. Is that you?
Do legends tell us about the past? Are they meant to frighten us? Meant to take advantage of what we fear? Or do some hold some trace of truth? Passed down so we never forget. We question, we search, we discover. We discover portals to the past.
Whoa.
What?
My shit just went off.
What? Bell's going off. Capture it. Kill that. Kill that. Something's disturbing the electric field.
Was it you?
No, I wasn't near it.
I moved and it started going off.
Do that again.
Don't go near him.
Yeah, don't go near me. Whatever just did that, do it again. Shh, please.
Is there someone here? You can come up to us.
Did you guys whisper? No.
Mark,